Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Video Game Collectors. I'm Matt Rose,
I'm Josh Byerly.
and
And I'm Brett Charville.
awesome. We're excited to have another guest on the show again. He's going to have a great story for us and some exciting news if you haven't already heard. So we're excited. I'm going to let him tell all you about that. Welcome, Brett. Glad to have
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Long time listener, first time caller. So I appreciate getting on, and I appreciate all the auction recaps and stuff like that. And yeah. Anyways, yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, so we launched last week. We launched standardgaming.com. The goal of Standard Gaming is to be an alternative in the certified video game marketplace for you basically kind of have two options right now. You kind of have auction, which we all have. There's some great auction companies auctioning video games, but it's kind of take what you get, wait and see approach, sort of thing. A lot of people find auction companies intimidating, which is probably kind of humorous for us. We've done a ton of business with Heritage over the years or something like that, but it can be a little intimidating at times for people. On the other end of the spectrum, you have eBay. eBay can be really tough. A lot of stuff right now, people, don't update prices, sort of stuff like that. Things can be marked up a bit. You kind of have to, a lot of times, kind of play this, sort of cat and mouse game, on eBay, where, things are going to be kind of marked up, you're going to have to make an offer, et cetera, et cetera. So the idea behind Standard Gaming to start right now is really simple. It's, you go online, you check out the website. If there's stuff you like on it, you can buy it. Completely hassle-free. There isn't, a make an offer button by design. The whole design element of it is to basically give people immediate purchase options, wide range. I mean, we have graded games on there that are $85, and we have graded games on there that are $80,000 or $90,000. And we're packaging with that just kind of really good, easy to digest content, variant guides. A lot of it for me, I collected games a lot as a kid. Like a lot of people, I got back into it pretty hard during the pandemic. And out of the gate, really kind of trying to fill the needs that I had as a collector a couple years ago, getting back into it. Why is this variant? What is this variant? Why is it rarer than this variant? And then how do I determine, what it is? Sort of kind of basic levels, basic questions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's right now, that's what Standard Gaming is.
Where did you go for? I'm just curious on my level. Where did you go for answers, or where did you start looking for answers when you were curious about variants, or the guides that you're going to be putting together that you were hoping to find?
Yeah, things got a lot tougher when Nintendo Age ceased to be a thing. So beyond that, I mean, a lot of it is Google, and there's some stuff that you can find pretty easily. Some stuff there isn't an answer for. An interesting one that we're just trying to do research on and asking people about is the different fiber ratios on Nintendo boxes. And the rhyme or reason, and it sounds like let me get it right. I think we generally think 83% fiber boxes are earlier. Do I have that right? And I mean, do you guys know?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah. So hard and fast rule. I mean, 83 before 100. Literally today, Dan Gomez with WADA published Pokemon variant guide for Pokemon Yellow, saying for that the opposite is true. I mean, if you Google right now, 100%, 83%, what's the difference? What's first? There's nothing. So that's like the sort of example of a question. Hey, we see this on the WADA holder. We see it on all these WADA holders, but we can't make sense of it. And everything we're doing is through the lens of certified games. So our first guide we put out, Super Mario Brothers 3. We're really just trying to hit the 5 variants that WADA recognizes for Super Mario Brothers 3. There's obviously more once you start opening the boxes and get into the different codes on the manuals and and boxes and carts and stuff like that. But right now we're trying to hit what You're coming in, you're looking at sealed games. What do you need to know? And if you want to go deeper down the rabbit hole, maybe we'll provide you a link to something that's, more advanced, or something like
That's
that.
great. We always talk about variants, and I always tell Matt they're just in my head. If somebody has a question, I know it, and it's not published anywhere. And that was a good thing about Nintendo Age. You could go on and ask a question, and somebody somewhere on that site had seen it or it had been posted about at one point. And it might have been hard to find, but you could track it down. But with it gone, it doesn't exist on the web now.
Yeah, somebody had either seen it or was really, really sure they had seen it.
Right.
We're going to talk about it. So I bought and sold. I was a rare coin dealer for 15 years. So I come from the certified coin industry, and I owned a rare coin business for 7 years that I sold in 2018. And, one of the things as I look back, kind of starting this journey, professionally on the video game side, is just how much was in my head on the coin side, but not transcribed, not written down, not even necessarily shared with employees. Not that I was hoarding it, but that I was busy. Hey, I don't have time to pull this person aside. And there's just as many variants and varieties in rare coins as there are, video games. And really trying to be in a position where we can make this stuff kind of evergreen and, accessible to everybody is like just super important for our mission and what we're trying to do.
So did you not do guides, whatever coin business you were dealing with before? Did you not do guides there? Or you were just too busy to create guides?
So the real big difference, there's a lot of differences, and I think we'll probably talk about them later with different collectibles, but coins are really old, and there is very little. I collected Mercury dimes when I was a kid. They were minted from 1916 to 1945, and so from 1916 to 1945, they made 70 different dates and mint marks. They discovered some major varieties in the 50s, and then in our lifetime, there's been one new significant variety found, and it's probably a conversation we'll be having 40 years from now about. If 25 years from now somebody discovers a new Super Mario Brothers 2 variant, that's going to be like a big deal, right?
Right.
Less common stuff, right? There's going to be new varieties found every day, But yeah, so that's a big difference. I would say, and that's the thing that I find really exciting about video games, is that in coins, or even something like sports cards, Pokemon, the books have kind of already been written. The articles have been written in a lot of this stuff. And that's, a big part of why I find video games so exciting, and why I want to, move over to video games professionally too, is just that there's so much to discover still. It's super exciting.
You're absolutely right. Even stuff that gets released today that goes on the shelf, PS5 Series X games, nobody's, maybe Dan's tracking that stuff, but nobody is really going to Walmart and Target on a daily basis and seeing when they remove the special offer on the game. That, and it's not like Nintendo, Sony or Microsoft is coming out and saying, hey, we're doing this, collectors, go after it, because they're not catering to collectors. I don't know if that's a difference in this, is that coins have been collected. I guess it is. Yeah. Coins have been collected forever, and cards too. And cards are kind of they were meant to be collected after a certain point. So people track that stuff pretty heavily, but video games as a collectible is super niche and has been for many years. It's really until recently coming to where it is to this point today. So I don't know where I'm going with it, but
if you even look at from the start of something like coins, they're made by sovereign mints, and pretty much every country, there's legislation, like the federal government has to tell you how many Washington quarters they made this year, and if they make different varieties, they have to the best of their knowledge, to tell you. So think about that, just from out of the game. I mean, think how many older games, Nintendo games, that we don't even know the print runs of, you know.
We don't know the print runs on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Those numbers that we see out there are literally amalgamated number that Nintendo or any of the companies take and say, hey, we sold 5 million copies of this, but they don't attribute that to just physical copies. That, you know, currently that's digital downloads, that's updates and stuff like that. So it's, the numbers are skewed, or different regions. So we don't know what production numbers are on just about anything.
Yeah, it's like Netflix numbers. Like, 46 million people watched Bird Box. Trust us, you know.
Yeah, right? Or they watched 2 minutes of it and turned it off.
Exactly. Yeah. They downloaded the demo and they counted that as a sale. You know?
So I mean, like, production numbers. That's a great topic of conversation. You know, and we can go off on that maybe another time. But I think that people don't really understand that when they say they made millions of that game. Yeah, they did. But when you break it down to the variants, everything, first releases, regions, it's not a lot.
I think one of the single biggest things that if you go to our website and you're reading the different, you know, descriptions about some rare games and stuff, I think one of the single biggest things that we're trying to drive home to collectors is the scarcity in sealed, and then even, you know, high grade CIB and mid grade CIB. I mean, you know, you have the game, you know, Pokemon Blue and Red, right? I mean, it's pre-digital, right? Mm-hmm. Nintendo claims they made about 15 million of each of them. I believe it. And the Wada Pop Report has, you know, 155 sealed copies on it. You know, it's not going to get to 1,000 maybe in the next 25 years, you know. Yeah. And it's remarkable. And you start to look at it through that lens. And the best thing about that is that it's beautiful, because that means 30 million people were playing Pokemon Red or Blue, right? I wasn't wealthy enough as a kid to have Red and Blue. I had to actually, you know, trade with people. But, you know, so let's say 25 million people, you throw in Yellow, another 10 million, 30 plus million people played that game. So you have this natural audience of people that are familiar with that game. And then you compress that into there being a couple hundred sealed copies in existence or something. And it's a really fascinating, you know, ratio. And it's really, it's remarkable, really. But it's another, you know, exciting part of video games.
Yeah, I think that there is, if you take that to the next step of complete or even cartridge, the rate of attrition on something like that is absolutely ridiculous. Of how many kids probably just lost those cartridges of those 30 million games that were made. So as a bigger number, yes, you can go out every day and buy one, but over time, the condition sensitivity of these is just going to degrade and be lost.
We put in one of our guides that we wrote on the website that it was like, did you save your boxes when you were a kid? No. Like, I didn't, you know, like, I mean, like, I have a couple, thankfully the one box I have is my Earthbound box. But you know, like, it didn't cross my mind as a kid, you know, and, and then even less so. We were talking about Game Boy before we got on. I mean, even less so, I think, on you know, Game Boy. I mean, that was a system that was meant to be traveled with, you know, not you know, it's remarkable.
Yeah, you always had. You got the carrying case. You had the little plastic protectors, and you just slapped those in the carrying case, and you went off. Those boxes specifically, and maybe that's why those are Game Boy in general seems to be way less common.
Yeah, it's next level, and it's because it's the utilitarian purpose of it, right? It's like, you're not going to carry the game box, you're not going to play the game box. Its purpose is to sell the item.
Yeah,
that's it. The packaging around it is to protect the item from being stolen. So these two things that go along with a complete game or a sealed game, they really are an anomaly in video game collecting.
Versus something like NES. I do remember a few friends keeping their NES carts in the box with the manual, you know, stacked up kind of cool, like a bookcase, you know, next to their systems.
You had rich friends, Matt.
Yeah. They only had a couple games, not like rows of games.
Yeah. I had used games.
I think when I was 7, I bet I kept I kept boxes as long up until my parents were convinced that I could understand the game and wasn't going to want to return it. And then it was, like wrapping paper at Christmas, sort of thing. But yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I just wanted to say earlier, if nobody's checked out Standard Gaming, standardgaming.com, it is clean. Part of my personal business outside of here is digital marketing. We build websites, we do all kinds of things. I immediately hopped on the site and I said, this is what so many websites lack these days. It's just clean, it's simple, you know where to go, the navigation is easy, it's straightforward. I do want to throw that. I love whoever did your web design. Absolutely love it. I even showed it to my business partner who has no interest in video games whatsoever, and he was just like, "That's awesome."
Yeah. Jack Fitch, guy, former coin dealer, former Collectors Universe guy, wore a lot of hats at Collectors Universe, and was super fortunate to have him do the website. And that was a month of Jack, and a really great software developer, our software developer Ali. And we started building the website the last week of July, and it's, and it launched the last day of August. Wow. And they're unbelievable partners that I have and stuff. And it's really fantastic, the work they've done. And I think the work they're going to do on some bigger stuff as we roll it out too. Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
So you say bigger stuff, and maybe you can't allude to any of that, but what does that entail? Do you see yourself growing the website beyond a basic platform of buying and selling, or just what do you see it as?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think at a high level, I think we're really still, so we really wanted to overall establish a good brand that's basically synonymous with just video games and being really kind of fair and direct. So by just video games, auction companies are only nice things to say about pretty much all the auction companies. If I lodged a complaint, a lot of times it would be that, they're not just video games, right? You sign up and then you're getting, a lot of sports emails or something like that. Like for us, we just want to have a pure focus on video games. And so we want to establish ourselves in that sense. And then also just in the sense of being really fair, really direct. Somebody isn't going to get ripped off because, if you think about eBay, right? I don't know about how often you guys scan eBay solds, sales on eBay, but, I do about once a week, and there's always a couple that I'm like, that person is dead. That person thought that game was sealed and it's a CIB, because it was $5,000 when it should have been 800, or something like that. And coming from the coin side of the business of collectibles, there's a lot of telemarketing. There is a decent amount of mature market. There's kind of some pockets, very small pockets of kind of shady business practices and stuff. Most collectibles have this to some extent. Unfortunately, every industry does. But something I learned a lot of is that, if somebody's first or second experience is awful in a collectible field, they're probably done. It's a competitive market, right? They can collect Pokemon cards, they can collect all these different things where there's more information. And if somebody's first purchase, they dip their toes in and they spend $2,000 on something that's worth 400, they're done. And so, our thing, we want to bring new people to the hobby, people from other collectible categories. We want them to, have a good time, learn, and be treated fairly. And that's really kind of where we're at right now. Longer term, I think it's kind of assessing and talking to guys like you, collectors we interact with, other people that are, dealers, more veterans in the hobby, in terms of what's needed. There's a lot right now, right? There's stuff that's very hard, almost impossible. Talked with a lot of people over the last couple of months about price guides. Mm-hmm. And right now, I don't think there's the data points to do it. I would also probably argue that maybe we're not the right people to do it. But it's the sort of thing like, hey, if it's 18 months from now and there's enough data points and nobody's stepping up and doing it, and we see a clear path to do it, maybe we do it, you know.
Sure.
And I think you could probably say that for about anything in the market. You know, one thing that I will share that we're definitely working on that I think is going to be really great is a pretty robust want list feature for our site. So we only have a couple hundred games on the site now, but we have you know, over 500 games at grading, and it'll be, you know, by the end of the year there should be over 1,000 games on the site, with a lot more added all the time. And having a pretty robust want list is something that we're really excited about. You know, so just at a high level, you know, you want a sculptor's cut CIB, you know, it's going to be really good predicative text, you know, drop down, you know, you type in what you want, you hit save, and you get an email blast if we ever get one in. And it should be, you know, yeah, I mean, you guys know, you guys have, I'm sure, decades of experience with eBay Save Search and stuff like that. I think with our database and our software, we should be able to give people a much tighter level kind of granularity. Like, I mean, you'll be able to put in, you know, fourth print Super Mario Brothers 3 9.2 A+, you know, that tight in our parameters in our system. So that's kind of the most immediate, you know, forward facing thing we're excited to do.
So kind of like a personal want list, not like a bounty list or anything that somebody could come on the site. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for your own consumption. I need these 20 games, you know, I want to enter them in, or, you know, hey, I only want to get blasted about Game Boy games. Sure. Yeah. You know, whatever. We want to be the opposite of that. Why am I keep getting Steph Curry emails, right? You know, we want to be, you know, give you exactly what you want, you know. So yeah.
Sweet. Standard gaming. We talked about this briefly. We talked about this briefly before, but I'm going to ask it again just because. Do you like, so on a personal level, on collection wise, like, what do you collect? Do you collect? What interests you? You know, that type of.
Yeah. So I have given up video game collecting when we launched Standard Gaming. My personal, you know, collection is part of the inventory that's, you know, on the site and will be on the site. My video game collecting was pretty shotgun approach. And a lot of it was just, you know, I kind of was talking about, you know, trying to answer questions when I got a lot more into video game collecting a couple of years ago. You know, I would win, you know, it was funny. I was thinking about this, you know, I have 60 Super Nintendo games from my collection as a kid. Somehow it's like, there's like 2 Player's Choice games in there. And, you know, I got back into collecting a couple of years ago and I'm like, oh, like Player's Choice, this is pretty good, right? You know, like these are the better ones, right? You know, and, you know, so a lot of, you know, Super Nintendo, N64, you know, mix of, you know, I don't know, mix of kind of, you know, lower grade sealed stuff. Super passionate about Game Boy. Before we started recording, I mean, if I had, you know, a 30-year goal, it would be to do, you know, sealed Game Boy and do it right and have, like, you know, the collection that gets donated to a museum, you know, at some point. Maybe that'd be something I do down the line. Outside of video games, I'm a really avid collector of original comic art. I don't know if you guys, you know much about that, but, you know, the art that underpins that underpins comic books. But done that, kind of collected everything over my life. So to back up a little bit, I started in 2005 as an intern at Heritage. That's how I got into collectibles. And I like to tell people, you know, they put me in the rare coin department. If they would have put me in the rare coin department, so I became a coin dealer. And I was I was dealt in rare coins for 15 years. And I like to tell people, if they would have put me into, you know, sports memorabilia or movie posters or comic books, they didn't have as many departments back then. You know, I probably would have done comic books for 15 years or sports cars for 15 years. You know, I was always personally very interested in the process of, certification and kind of things being commoditized in a sense. And I think that really probably led me pretty hard into coins and comics, the most from that lens. I've collected it all over the years. And
so you're an intern at Heritage in 2005. Is that are you going to college then? Or are you just like,
so I was 20, and I'm from Sandusky, Ohio, best place on earth, the Paris of the Midwest. But when I was 20, I really did not want to spend my summers in Sandusky. And so I was going to I was a rising junior in college and just finished my sophomore year. I was trying to get internships all over. Everybody wanted people that were going to be seniors instead of people that were going to be juniors. And it's funny because Heritage was still big at the time, but now they're, colossal. But at the time, it was like the last week of school. I was getting desperate. I was going to go wait tables again in Sandusky, Ohio. And I stumbled. I'd bought a coin deal at a garage sale in college and was selling it, was using Heritage's auction archives, which was like a new novel thing in like 2005. It was like all that information was private and they made it public, and it was like really controversial in coins 20 years ago. And I was using their auction archives to figure out what to put stuff on eBay for. Saw they were hiring interns. It was like I emailed my resume on like a Tuesday. Paul Minchell, the COO, called me himself, phone interviewed me for 10 minutes and said, hey, if you want an internship, it's $10 an hour and free housing. And said yes, basically hung up the phone, called my parents, said I wasn't coming home. And like the next week, drove to Dallas. It was a 2-day drive from Ohio. And Heritage was they're still a coin company first. If they're going to do $2 billion in sales this year, like $1 billion of it is coins. I don't know if people really kind of realize that. Wow. And so somebody actually, a video game guy referred to. I was talking to a video game guy a couple of weeks ago, Dan Lyon, and he was like, hey, God, I really just, when I hear Heritage, I still think of comics. And I was like, that's funny to me because I don't, even though the biggest comic player as well. But
I think Dan, that's funny. Ohio, you Ohio guys, it's the funniest thing in the world. I don't know. That's beside the point. But a lot of us, when we first got introduced to Heritage, it was because we were talking to comic book people, as video game guys. And that's really where we got shoved with the category of comic books. Yeah. When we first started selling and putting games in Heritage. They're like, here you go, comics. Have fun. Yeah. And fortunately they hired some good people to run their video games. So it's been and I can't imagine if they didn't hire Valerie,
Oh yeah. And if you look, their expertise across their category, it's unbelievable. I don't it's like I don't want to sit here and I'm trying to build something that, people want to do business with us, but Heritage, what they've built is just, it's unbelievable. And I feel lucky that I've kind of had a firsthand seat for 17 years now. Right after I quit working for them, I went and worked for a company in Tulsa for a couple of years that, they're number one, basically from age 20 to up until now, Heritage has been, wherever I've been, I worked at Heritage for 3 years after college. And then they were basically kind of my biggest vendor. When I was a wholesale coin dealer, my biggest account was selling to Heritage and, for them or auctioning through Heritage and stuff like that. And it's remarkable. They're just remarkable. And I don't know if have you guys been to their new office down in California?
I visited their old office, but back down to Texas.
The new one, it's like football fields long. It's like I want to know how much business I have to do to get a Segway or something like that. It's like tiring. It's like tiring going to their office. But anyways,
everything's bigger in Texas, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So what is this with Ohio and everybody in Ohio, all these video game guys.
Yeah, it's awesome actually. So I left. I was a division president. I was the president of PCGS, biggest coin certification company in the world. I can tell you the whole story, but we got taken. Collectors Universe got taken private last year. I got an opportunity to leave. Never really, always loved, maybe trading more than being, working at a grading company. The analogy I like to use is I was a coin dealer for 13 years, and then I became the president of PCGS, and it kind of like went from like playing in the NBA to being like the head referee overnight. Where you kind of have like this freedom, as a player, and then think about when you're a referee, like a best case scenario, 50% of the people hate you. And like, if you think about it from grading, right? Nobody gets grades back from it. I mean, maybe video games are actually, I think a little bit different, but coins, nobody gets their coins back and was like, you got it right. Like somehow PCGS grades 2.5 million coins a year. And if you ask the people that get them back, they didn't get it right. It's just everybody, there's pride of ownership. Everybody else's coins suck. Their coins are awesome, sort of a thing like that. And, yeah, I mean, it's a remarkable change. So last year I was in Southern California, was there for, PCGS Collectors Universe job, and, want to move someplace else. I left Ohio when I was 20 for that internship and basically never came back, and, wanted to get back, started connect the dots about video games. And, about 9 months ago, decided I was going to do this professionally. And it just all lined up once I started, kind of learning more about, where the video game market is. And it makes sense. It's, it's in the Midwest. Columbus is an awesome video game town. Matt McClellan's here. Dan, who I mentioned, is here. A couple other great guys. Everybody in the community has been super, super welcoming and friendly and stuff like that. Shops and stuff. It's been awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of this strange epicenter of video game collecting and finds of video games. Like some of the biggest video game dealers were Ohio people from way back in the day. Like I even think Adam Harvey is an Ohio guy. So,
okay.
Like these guys have just been around a long time, but it's Brian Sunkel. I mean, these are old dudes that are collecting.
Yeah, I just bought some stuff from Brian a couple of weeks ago. He's a good guy too. Yeah.
Good dude.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I actually kind of have a theory from the coin side about that. And maybe Josh, you and I talked about this one time, but in coins, like there's like state coin clubs. Right? Like coins is very organized. There's like the New York State, the Empire State Coin Club, the Ohio State Coin Club. And so if you think about like the migration of seniors, like the biggest coin club in America, besides the national one, the American Numismatic Association, is the Florida United Numismatists, the Fun Coin Club. And they have a coin show that is 4 times the size of, Portland every year, and it's the second biggest coin show, maybe like in the world. And, but 50, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, the biggest state coin clubs were the Minnesota State Coin Club, the Wisconsin State Coin Club, the Michigan State Coin Club, which is still pretty big, New York. And I think the correlation, a lot of it that we talk about is it's a cold weather hobby. And if you really think about it, like video games are too, right? Like think about the percentage of kids in Southern California in 1988 that were asking for a Nintendo when they also could have asked for like a surfboard or a skateboard.
Skateboard, 100% skateboard.
Versus kids in Ohio that is like a snow shovel or a Game Gear. What do you want, man? But I think about it through that lens. I think it maybe helps explain because video game collecting is huge in Canada too.
Mm-hmm. It's big in the Northwest. I mean, it really is here.
Yeah.
We had so many rainy days and up here dark days growing up. It's just like that's what you did. If it was raining, you played video games. If it was nice out, parents kicked you out. They're like, go play in the yard.
That's right. I didn't ask for a bike for Christmas because I wasn't going to go ride it at Christmas time.
Yeah.
That's just not how it was. You asked for video games. Maybe all kids did though. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it was so extreme in coins decades ago that the biggest coin dealers, I mean, June and July, they weren't even open. I mean, it was like that cyclical in terms of being more of a winter hobby and stuff like that. It's pretty remarkable, actually.
That's interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You said you do comic art. Do you have any crossover of comic art to where you got a little bit or even a touch of video game art at all? Because I know there's
no
or no interest or
no, I have interest, but it also seems to be. Would you guys say that video game art is not spiking in popularity right now, but really picking up steam over the last year or so? Where are you guys at in terms of its relevance?
Say 4 or 5 years, it's been picking up a lot of steam. That would be my.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of gatekeepers in the video game art world. Like it's, a couple people went after it hard early.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that is still undiscovered. It's way different than comic art. You're going for a full color cover of video game art, and there's way more comics than there are video games, or maybe artwork wise, because you got to a point in the late 90s where everything went digital, so art ceased to exist in video games.
And you're hitting on my. Yeah, you pretty much just nailed all my bullet points. I mean, I've been collecting comic art for 7 years, and I wish somebody just would have slapped me silly and told me to be patient those first couple of years, because everything's one of a kind, right? And if you think, like, it's funny because there is not any comic art in the world, and so if you're saying, and you're right, you're exactly right, if video game art is like an order of magnitude less, there's like no video game art, and what I found interesting about it is that, I don't know, I think it's awesome, but I think we're kind of at a price point personally for me where they really are kind of like the stuff that comes to market seems like B or C titles.
It does.
And it's a lot of money. And
but in comparison to, say, a cover for an esoteric comic that might not mean a bunch, I don't even know what the market is for something like that.
Yeah, you could get a nothing 90s comic art cover for $1,000 still.
Okay.
And so cool for $3,000, where, a game that I forgot existed would bring $30,000.
I don't think that's a common theme right now in video games. I would say this last auction, what did that Top Gun art go for? Was it 24,000 or so on the Heritage auction? But they're so far and few between. If you can manage a piece, for a fair price, I say get it if you can. But once you actually have one or you see one in person, you're like, man, I get it. I've bought a couple pieces.
Yeah, I was recently at a home in Columbus that had some really great stuff, and it's a lot of it's big too. I think a lot of comic art is some of it's older and larger. It's called Twice Up, and some of it is not as big. And most of the video game art I've seen is pretty big, which is great from a practicality standpoint. Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, that's a piece of art when somebody sees it, right? So.
Yeah, totally.
Video game art is fun, but it is also getting expensive, like you said.
Expensive, really expensive, especially for cool stuff.
And one of a kind. So
yeah, that's a good topic. Where do you guys see? Yeah, I would argue that maybe getting into this year, there's kind of value everywhere. But are there certain pockets that you guys have kind of always been kind of slamming the table, pointing out value, or are there kind of new pockets that have kind of opened up, kind of in the last, in 2022?
That's a good question. Go, Matt.
That's a good. Well, when you say pockets, I immediately just go to I don't necessarily go to a specific place. I go to Halo, but that was just me. I think long term that's great, but I think of things simply
After
like,
two points to your head behind you.
yeah, that giveaway. But that's just me personally. I always think like when you say pockets, I always think, you know, if there's any safety or anything that seems to always be strong, it's anything Super Mario, anything or Mario in general or Zelda. I don't know if that's kind of, but pocket wise, like I don't know.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be pre-production or marketing material stuff. I think it's super underpriced, even to the point where like PlayStation 2 marketing material is very underpriced. Whereas things where the artwork that they use for marketing might be different, mock-up boxes, those things, those are really neat to me. And they always have been, and sometimes they're one of a kind, sometimes they're four of a kind, and that's what you get. So it's almost like artwork, in the sense that it has extreme rarity behind it, but it's also one thing that I have liked what Wada has done is I can put stuff like that in a holder and I can display it, I can show it to someone and not have to explain it every time what this strange esoteric thing is that I collect, because it says it what it is. But I don't know. I look at stuff like that and I think that's badass. I mean, if I think it's badass, then there's probably a couple other people out there that would collect it in the future. And being as it is, there's some stuff that is so rare you don't see or hasn't shown up yet, but you've seen in old marketing photos. But there is enough of it out there that it can also be niche, like sealed video games. So
there's an old adage in coins that things can be too rare.
Yeah,
you know? There's
same with video games. So
there's a lot of some of the rarest coins. You know, the coins that are worth $1 million or $2 million are a lot of the ones that are almost more in demand are the ones that there's maybe like 12 or 15 of them rather than 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that there's only 2 or 3 of, they just never change hands, and it's tough. Yeah.
Well, I look at that like a one-of-one sports card. I'm like, there's one person that can ever own that. Right.
Yeah. I saw some stat. I forget the numbers. I'm going to botch it. And I enjoy cards, but you guys know Trevor Lawrence, quarterback for the Jaguars. Yeah. There's like 350 different one-of-one Trevor Lawrence cards like this year. like there's that many different print runs and stuff, and so somebody's like going crazy like, oh, like I pulled a one-of-one Trevor Lawrence. It's like, well, there's 300 one of different sets and stuff like that.
Sure.
And then you start doing your math, like how many 1-of-50s are there, how many 1-of-20s are there, and stuff like that. It could probably get pretty big. But for me, I mean, this is maybe kind of a textbook answer, but I look at early, matte and gloss CIBs. I mean, I think there's going to be people right now, the handful of people that are putting together, those sets, and they're going to have, an average cost of $500 a game or something like that on stuff that just doesn't exist. We're talking about 15 million of each Pokemon. I mean, how many matte stickers did they make? I mean, it's a fraction.
I would argue to say it'd be more like $1,000 a piece average cost, if depending on
down the road.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, 500 I'm buying. I'm just saying.
Especially if everybody opened Mario. That's the one game that everybody's gonna open.
Yeah.
And destroy the box too.
Yeah.
That one's getting the love. I think they're totally undervalued. I really do. I always have. And to even a more extent, just black box in general. I'm to the point where I'll buy a Reve black box. I'm not a stickler on a hang tab anymore. I mean, I literally bought this super clean Mario arcade. It's a Reve. Yeah. This goes against everything I do as a collector, buying shit like this. But it was so nice. I spent $500, $457 on it. So
yeah.
And it's because I had a nice one. I sold it, and I'm like, I don't have one now. So this stuff is hard to find.
Well, that's great. Yeah, let's talk about that if you don't mind. So where do you guys think, the line is going to be for, somebody wanting a, let's use Super Mario Bros. As an example, a 5.5 hang tab versus a 8.5 oval, or something. I mean, where do you guys think those kind of lines come down where grade sort of takes over? I think everybody's going to pick a 9.4 CIB oval, over a 5.5, hang tab. I would think,
I think it will be the high grade over time, always. Yeah. And I don't think there will be a line. I think it will just be that you go for the high grade.
Yeah.
Mainly because we love the nuances as collectors. We love that. And that's what makes hang tabs special. And what makes a matte sticker special. But to the masses, it's going to be the nicest copy.
Yeah. Yeah. When the moment you said that, I mean, to me, a 5.5 has enough damage to that box that it's going to make it a little unappealing, like when I'm displaying it. So, and sometimes that just kind of makes you feel a little bit off when you're looking at it versus like when you have something like an 8.0 black box is just nuts. So if you've
I take back everything I just said, because I don't know. I just don't know, because I think about like a sealed hang tab versus a oval high grade. I
take the sealed
probably take tab. The threshold will probably be like 6.5, 6.0 for sealed hang tab versus a 9.4 oval.
Yeah. Hang tab. I mean, especially since, when I was on Nintendo Age and I was filling my black box collection, my focus was to make sure everything was circle and hang tab, one or the other. Back then it didn't even cross my mind matte sticker or gloss. It just didn't. So you got it. It was just like, oh, whatever.
I think the right answer is it really depends on what the item is.
Yeah, I mean, if it's rare enough, you take the oval no matter what. To me, depending on what it is.
I'm loving just watching you. You guys are kind of running in circles. I really like it.
I'm thinking about it, like, because I would rather have a hang tab sealed in a 6.5 than a nice oval, but I would also take.
I think sealed's going to be different though, right? Because you're not going to have that wear on the. I mean, once you start to get kind of that the white edges. To me, when you're kind of maybe under 6 or something like that.
Yeah. It's going to depend on how it displays also. So if I have a low grade that has massive amount of sun fading on the top of the box, and it's got a beautiful hang tab and displays beautifully on all sides in the front,
you grab it.
Yeah, I'll take the 6.5.
Yeah, if you had said 6.5 instead of 5.5, I probably would have hesitated a lot less and said hang tab.
What's the number, Matt? Like maybe it's not 5.5, maybe it's 4.5.
It's
maybe like we're all crazy and we're gonna just shit our pants in 10 years and be like, wow, I didn't think 4.5s would sell for that much.
Yeah, I mean, we'll hit a point in our lifetime where people are submitting 3s, right? I mean, in theory, right? I mean, if it's like any other. I mean, baseball cards, you submit all T206s, right?
You just do.
Yeah. I mean, bust dollars that they made in the, 100, 200 years ago. I mean, they all go in for grading,
I submit every CIB Mario I have. I'm not kidding. I mean, that's just it. And I put them together with the right variants, what I need. I piece them together the correct way. And I submit them now. I just don't sell them.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's the Mario, man.
Yeah, I think I've bought 1, 3 or 3.5 ever, and that was just because I knew it was rare enough to where I was like, fine.
Yeah, it was also cheap enough, Matt. So
yeah, I could argue that now, but yeah, it was just like no, it was like $300.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, you guys actually touched on something too that we're trying to do on the website as well, which is really actually describe games as best as I can. And, I mean, every B+ seal or lower, there's usually a pretty spottable reason. And but virtually impossible to, from a front and back photo, unless if it's just smacking you in the face, and so, on our website, now and in the future, hopefully, as long as I can keep, writing descriptions as a sane human, I mean, we want to lay that out to people and explain why, because a lot of it, I mean, I think it helps tell the story. I know we have like my favorite games on the site right now is a Cruisin' USA in like, I want to say it's like 5A plus, and the entire back of the box is like crushed in, and the front of it is like gem, and it's like $800. It's like, and if the back wasn't crushed, it's like, 20 grand, sort of thing. And I mean, I really like, I mean, I think that an interesting kind of dichotomy of, I think of later stage certified collectibles like video games. I think comics would even fall into this. I've actually given speeches on this on the coin side or in talks and stuff, that coin grading is 37 years old, and the people that collect on average are in their 60s. Our average customer was like around 60 when I was at PCGS. And so those people, lifelong collectors, they were there before certified, coin grading, and they need to they need to fly to the fun show in Orlando to buy the coin. Like PCGS says this is a 65, but like I need to put my loop on it and look at it and like make sure and stuff like that. And then I think I think a lot of times, you have a 25-year-old coming into sports cards or video games or something. I think a lot of the times there isn't even a kind of a thought. It's just like, this is a 9.4 or this is a 90, just saying it kind of on the beginner side. I think it's kind of when you go to more intermediate and advanced is when you really actually start looking at the stuff and you develop your own kind of nuance of what you like. There are going to be people that like the value of a B+ game that if you're this far away from it, you can't tell what's wrong with it, Those people are going to want to save 60% off, or something. And there are going to be people that's going to bug the shit out of them, and that doesn't work, And I think so. I mean, part of what we want to do is we want to get new people in, and we want to help them kind of go from beginner to intermediate to advanced, right? And I think the conversations that we're having aren't the conversations you have when you've been collecting something for a week. It's you guys have been doing it for decades, and stuff, and it's fascinating,
I've actually had, it's interesting you kind of bring this up. I've actually had a guy who's bought a few games from me on eBay, and he was interested in a few other games that I had, but his specific request was that he just wanted to know that the face of the game was flawless. He didn't care if it was a B+, he didn't care if it was a 7.5, an 8, as long as the damage was on the back, because he said he displays it wherever he has an awesome room, he displays it. And he just didn't want people to come into his room and see a flaw in his game. He just wanted the face to be awesome. And that was his only request. And so I would send him really detailed pictures. And if the face was good, he'd buy it. That's what he wanted. It was interesting. It was interesting.
God bless the Wada holder for hiding every flaw if there is one. Because
it's hard to
I get
see
stuff
them.
and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And then you crack it out and you're like, oh, okay, I see it.
I've had conversations with Josh on specific games. I was like, how the hell did this get it? And as we were looking closer and going into it, I was like, oh yeah, I see. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now I see it.
Yeah. The games are always nicer than you think they are when you send them in. So
I mean, it's funny. And I mean, that's a great point. Graders, they grade from like right here, I mean, you take a 8.5A and a 9.4A and you put them about 4 feet from your face and you cover the grade, we're probably all going to bat about 50%, you know? And it's, I mean, to me, it's just, different strokes for different folks. Right. And it's, great example, right. Of, and there are people in hobbies that are gonna, make fun of that guy. Oh, that guy doesn't care about the back of a game. What an idiot. It's like, no, actually, like that guy's got a plan, actually. That guy's actually pretty well put together,
There was somebody in this hobby like that before anybody did it. in sealed video games. His name's Robin Mahara, and he would buy the crappiest
He
sealed
would.
versions of the games
He would.
because they were so much cheaper than the other ones. And,
Yeah.
and during the time era, he didn't care if it was a shit condition Little Samson. He bought it because it was Little Samson. And
Yeah.
everybody, all the 15 sealed guys at the time were like, that's dumb. Don't buy that. It's horrible condition.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. So he bought it, and he did very well with that methodology early on when nobody was doing it.
Or you bought 85s because everybody wanted 85 plus.
Everybody wanted,
And 85s, they could have just been just a tick off, or maybe the grader was having a bad day. But 85s, you get those back and you're just like, but they'd be so cheap. And now knowing what they cross, it's just like, yeah.
Bear in mind, those sealed collectors, there were not many back when VGA first started. And then they really got going, Dove, there was this guy in Canada, he sold all these sealed games on eBay. And that's really, I think, a catalyst for what started sealed collecting, because there was access to inventory at the time at an affordable price. Yeah. And so there was all these case packs, and then the 10 sealed guys were like, now that's just common now because there's 15 copies of it,
15 copies,
or 25 copies, and that was the mindset back then.
Sealed golf black box is common.
15 years ago, and how much has changed? It's crazy. So
$100 a game.
Earlier this year, Rich Leslie was telling me a story about going to some when he first started collecting, and he was buying like from the same guys, he was buying like they had like a couple cases of Cheetah Man 2, and they would bring one, and he was buying the one for I don't know what it was, some astronomical price at the time, like $200 or something.
It's probably like $70.
And they were just like snickering, like, oh, here comes this idiot buying he hasn't figured it out yet, when he has, and he just he actually really did figure it out. It's kind of remarkable. But you're talking about breaks and grading scale. In coins is a 70-point scale. 70 is perfect, 1 is like indiscernible, and there is a huge historical price jump from 64 to 65. They call 65 a gem coin. I say gem a lot, like, oh, that game's gem. That's what I mean. Like it meets the standard. And but I mean, there are loads of coins that go from being worth $1,000 in 64 to 8,000 in 65, and the difference is almost imperceptible, at times. And it's, I mean, that's I think I was a wholesale coin dealer for a long time, and this is kind of a more front-facing role for me, but I do worry at times I'm almost maybe a little too honest on that front. No, man, like, buy the cheaper one. Like, you're good. This one looks great. But yeah, it's a whole world out there.
That was definitely the 85 to 85 plus, because at 85 plus you got gold. You didn't have the little silver, shiny sticker on there. You got the gold sticker. So the real collectors were anything 85 plus and above. And then, of course, 90, everybody bought 90 if you could. So, yep. And now I'd say it's 90A is the WADA. That's where when you get to 90A and above, that's kind of, we just I call it the money zone. 85, but now that's kind of swaying a little bit, I would almost say, because I would buy an 8.5 A plus all day long as well.
I think it's swaying, because they did release the seal pops on stuff that WADA did, so you can see that A pluses on certain games are hard to get, or A plus plus. So
A plus is so much harder now. It's
and there is, I mean, they're almost any numeric scale, there's going to be some sort of like psych out point, right? And I think probably for video games with WADA long term, it would make sense if it's that 8.5 to 9, right? You start going to smaller decimals and stuff like that, and 9, and it feels like 9 to 9.2 is this big, right? But 9 to 8.5 is this big, sort of thing.
an A to B plus. I don't know. There's just something about that. You're just like, I don't know.
Yeah. B plus is a good value. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're looking for
I'll buy 'em.
value, 8.5 B plus all day long.
Yeah, here for it.
Be the Mahara of now and 8.5 B plus and below.
Awesome.
Um
You got any more questions there, Matt?
well, we did have one that you had mentioned, and I kind of wanted to, what has coins done in the past that video games hasn't done yet, but they should, as be it grading, collecting, whatever it is. I mean, have, like you were saying earlier, having these guides, that's definitely a huge part of it. Having that place to go, so now that Nintendo Age is no longer. Yeah.
Yeah, so out of the gate, you kind of start with mintages, right? So out of the gate, we already know how much of everything is made. There's variance there. Interesting story. In 1933, FDR made it illegal to own gold in the U.S.
Yeah.
They made, I think, 7.59 million 1933 $20 gold eagles, of which they melted all but a handful.
Oh,
So
wow.
that on a mintage looks insane. And on my Instagram, I'm holding one that sold for like $19 million. It's a very rare coin.
Wow.
That's like an anomaly. I mean, usually if something is, low mintage, it's rare. And there's a coin, 1894 San Francisco Barber dime that we don't know for sure, but we think they made 12 or 15 of them. I forget the exact number, to balance the ledger for the San Francisco Mint at the end of the year. They're like, oh man, like we're $1.20 off. Like, okay, make 12 dimes, sort of thing.
Wow.
And so you also have a really long price history. So I mean, a lot of the rare coins, are pre World War II. So if a coin was rare in 1930, something. It's all relative, right? So the coins that were selling for $50 or $100 back then are now the coins that are worth, $500,000 now, but they were still an order of magnitude rarer, so you have, kind of a lot of that history. PCGS and NGC, the two grading services, they've graded 80 million coins combined. So think about that from a pure data standpoint. Like we know what's out there in coins, specifically US coins. I mean, we know what there is, we know what there isn't, and it's a lot of coins get graded every year, but as an order of percentage, things are relatively static. And also because of that, all the good coins are all in plastic now. When I was at PCGS, I had about 15 person grading team in the US, 5 or 6 guys in Shanghai, a couple in Paris, and a couple in Hong Kong. And all the time, the US graders would be like our job's getting more boring. Like we're grading pocket change, like I've been doing this job for 25 years, and 20 years ago, every coin was a banger, and now they've been graded. We're going down the line. We're doing Washington quarters now. We're doing Roosevelt dimes now, and so, that's a big difference. There's a price guide called the Red Book that comes out every year in coins. It's been coming out. I feel like I'm getting rusty on coins. I think the first year was 1932.
Wow.
And 1936. And so if you go to like a Barnes, if you can find a Barnes and Noble and go inside of it, that book is there.
Wow.
And it comes out every year. And right there, right, there's a 85-year price history on, every collectible US coin, right? That is one of 5 or 6 price guides. There's so much coin data and card data that, I mean, you can basically use machine learning to make a price guide at this point that is very accurate, right? So many data points. Conversely, to get positive about video games. Well, the last big things that the last big thing that coins have and sports cards have is the PCGS and PSA set registry. I think I probably rambled about it before. I'll ramble about it until WADA has one, until CGC has one, whenever. Set registry is a way where if you want to go and make the best buffalo nickel set in the world, you can go in, you enter your certification number, your WADA ID number, into the system, and it says like you're in 37th place. You have the 37th best buffalo nickel collection, and it's fun for casual people. But then it has also led to, at the high end, just bloodbaths among very wealthy people, which is fantastic for the hobby, right? Because, I think all collectible hobbies are more exciting when there is price spreads within the grade. When your 7 is worth more than your 6, that's, I think, a really good thing for, a sign of a mature market and stuff like that. And so, that duck hunt, I underbid that sealed duck hunt in the heritage sale. And it's like already like my biggest regret not bidding more. But if there was a black box set registry, and some of the wealthiest guys that are collecting, and imagine there's only 5 more of those wealthy guys and they're doing black boxes. That duck hunt is $500,000, not 144,000.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. The power that set registries have in terms of collecting habits and stuff. It'll be interesting with video games because, when WADA does it, when whoever does it, right? Like black box is a gimme, right? There's going to be a 30 game black box set. There's going to be maybe launch title sets, but nobody's probably really going to be doing that Game Boy Master set or something, right? Just between cost, time, this, that, the other. Some people will try it, but it won't be the competitive sets. The competitive sets are probably going to be, NES to N64 Zelda. They'll do however many, what is that, 5 game set, or something that'll be hotly contested. It'll do a Zelda variant set, whatever, this sort of stuff. And so that component is equally as important on the PSA side. It is something I didn't really even I was a coin dealer for 13 years. I really didn't fully understand the power of it till I went and became the PCGS president and talked to so many collectors that it gives people so much collecting focus. And I think looking at video games, it can be hard to come in as a newbie and find a good collecting focus outside of the games you played as a child, or like, your clear couple favorites, right?
Right.
I think people with the collecting bug, they like to collect in sets, and we need to give people sets. It's actually something we're going to have one of the recurring articles we're going to have is going to be like really basic sets. It's sort of stuff make you guys laugh, but hey, there's 3 Turtles games for the Game Boy. Here they are. Maybe Radical Rescue is a little difficult, too difficult for you and sealed. You might want to do CIB or, whatever the equation comes out to be. But, on the positive side, compared to coins or compared to more robust is just all the discoveries, right? I don't know if did you guys see, WADA, Dan Gomez posted the Killer Instinct Gold variant thing. Yeah. So we had one of the better ones, and we had just gotten it, and I lost my mind. I was so excited that I think it was they had graded 40 of them, and they were determined that 3 of them were the rare variant, and we had one. We just happened to have one that we were about to put on the website at launch, and we pulled it back to get it reholdered and stuff. But that stuff doesn't happen in coins. It's all been found. It's all been done. It's all been done too on the sets. You make that buffalo nickel set, you could be first place alive, right? But there will still be 4 sets at this point of people that have came and gone that put together a better buffalo nickel set than the set that you did. People are going to put together player's choice sets and launch title sets, and they're going to have how much would it cost to do the best Game Boy, launch set right now. You could have the third best Game Boy launch title, set in the world right now for under 50 grand. The equivalent thing in coins is $500,000. So that's super exciting. And yeah, I think too, there's a lot less freshness in a lot of other collectibles, right? There's more, I don't know, people put their hands on stuff. People submit stuff a lot of times, maybe they'll submit a coin 20 times or something like that to get a higher rating or something, where it's just too new of a hobby in video games to kind of mess with that sort of nuance, which makes things good. But anyways.
So do you plan in the future to have a set registry?
If the grading services don't.
Okay. Because I think that would be cool.
That's my challenge. You guys got till the end of next year.
Get your shit together. Let's go. No.
Because we kind of used to have that in a way at Nintendo Age. We had some set registries type things.
Yeah, there was a collecting tool. You could go in and say, hey, I got all these things.
And you got the badges if you had like the Panesian collection.
Yeah, it was a registry of sorts. You had the test carts, you got the test cart badge. You got a nice collection of prototypes, you get a prototype badge. So
yeah. And I think what what was kind of the verification system back then? People would just kind of post pictures of everything, and then it was also a small like nobody's really lying about what they had,
right,
sort of thing.
Supposedly, right? So it was up to the discretion of the moderators and the admins of the website to say, somebody would send a message to say, hey, I have this, can I be added for this award? And they typically send a photo of it,
Yeah. And that's a big advantage that grading services have on a set registry, is it's all native to them, right? So if somebody logs in and they scan the barcode or the QR code on their game into WADA's platform, WADA can be pretty darn confident that the person has possession of that, where, like if we were to do it independently, an advantage that we would have is that we could do both grading services simultaneously, right?
Yeah.
Like all three, all four, all five, how many, maybe not P1, but however many grading services there are, in theory, approve them all. And so the native advantage that they have to kind of verify the stuff, you could type in your WAD ID, and then maybe you can choose to display your pre-grading photos to everybody. Maybe you can hide them, maybe you can, there's a lot of different optionality with it. It's something that, that and price guide, I really hope are something that, over time, the grading services have leadership on, because they're just the best people to do it, and it's important. Yeah.
I would think
I'd be pumped if they got something out sooner than later. So
I think price wise, I think we almost need to hit, because I feel like we hit a peak. We're kind of coming down and maybe flattening out, maybe not, but we almost need another upsurge to figure out, kind of have some kind of average. That's just my thought as to where things have been and where they should be and where they're going.
Yeah, and I think there's potentially, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much at Standard Gaming, but there is potential too for us to kind of be a market maker. So, a big thing that really helps price guides is you want publicly traded price records, right? So you want like reputable, we're pretty positive. We know when Heritage sells something, when Golden sells something, it's a real sale, right?
Oh, yeah.
There are, barnyard auctions that are selling coins that maybe you're like, did this sell? I don't really know. But, you have that publicly available data that you feel good about. You have maybe eBay data that you feel a notch less good about, but still pretty good. And then what the market really lacks is, I guess I would almost say kind of like honest bids and asks, right? Where, if somebody's making a price guide and they're like, well, the last auction record was $750, but one hasn't sold in a few years. Well, so-and-so is posting that he'll pay $600. And on eBay, there's a seller that's selling one for $900 that we know is pretty fair. So we've just kind of created this range, this kind of range that can move around over time. And that stuff sort of doesn't exist. I aspire to, at Standard Gaming, that we get to a point where we could have kind of robust bids. If I don't want to curse a game. Let me pick some random game out or something. But if everybody in the world knows that we'll always pay 10 grand for an 8.0 oval Super Mario Bros, like that instills some sort of confidence for somebody to go pay 13.5 at auction. Hey, this isn't going to go to zero. Sort of stuff like that. So we're probably a ways away from that, and what that would look like, I'm not sure, and it would probably come in waves, and it would, we were talking about CIB, matte and gloss seals. I hope that we sell enough of those that I'm out posting, hey, I'll pay $1,000 for Urban Champion gloss, or anyone, 5 or higher, whatever the parameters are you want to set.
Oddly, there'll probably be more sealed Super Mario Brothers overall across variants than there will be matte sticker Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
in existence.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of confidence in there being a bunch of those games just randomly found.
Yeah.
They're amazing items. So,
yeah. I guess the only other thing is, if you've seen the show, we like to do wins. I don't know if you have any wins over. I mean, you've never been on the show, so if you have any wins,
I got wins, baby.
Yeah. Any comic book art you've picked up recently?
No.
If you don't want to share, that's fine.
Heritage has a sale tomorrow that I am not doing. I'm in can't spend 6 hours and monkey with it mode. My win is metaphysical. It is that our website launched and didn't explode, and the response was, I'm not a toot my own horn guy. The response was overwhelmingly positive for how tough our crowd can be. I think you guys know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
I think that was just really, really positive for us. And there's 4 of us full time, then a couple contract guys. And I was really tempering. I'm like, these guys can be brutal. Like, this isn't Etsy, bro. And
video games isn't your mother's collectible.
Yeah. And I think to get in and see and just get a really positive response was just really, really big win for us. And made the team super excited about building out more stuff and getting more kind of positive feedback as a result. Yeah, that's my win.
Sweet.
What'd you pick on that? Oh,
dude, I literally have piles of stuff, but
so do I.
As you were saying earlier, I kind of went in a different direction, but when you were saying pockets, some of my wins actually fall into some of those pockets that you were probably more referring to than what I was alluding to. I mean, I guess Halo kind of, but that's a long time.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
But I actually, grew up playing a lot of PC. So, PC games to me is kind of a pocket. I mean, it's still actually pretty high, amazingly, since in my mind it hasn't truly popped.
How much did you pay for that, Matt?
100. Did I pay 100 for this?
That's
I think I paid. Well, it's a little bit. It's not perfect, but I didn't have one.
Is it sealed?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. That's a fun set, actually.
Yeah, it is. But
Trapezoid Eidos boxes are really cool.
Yeah, getting number 1 is. I don't know why we notoriously wait for the most expensive last.
Dude, I picked those up a long time ago because I thought they were rad. Yeah. I didn't get the Final Fantasy one though, unfortunately.
What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I bought $500 worth of sealed Xbox and modern shit at Goodwill today. So
that's right.
That's my win.
That's a bounty for Goodwill.
Yeah, I got a Goodwill in Eugene, Oregon. It's a dedicated computer and electronics store. So the region for Goodwill that I'm located in, all the stuff that gets donated in that region comes to this one location, and
Awesome.
they sort it there, and they get first dibs. This computer electronics Goodwill gets first dibs before they put the stuff on shopgoodwill.com.
Awesome.
So it's a nice little place.
I
I mean, I'm buying PS4 games for $5 to $10 a piece, but they're sealed. So I'm like, I can't not buy it because I have a sickness. So
Awesome.
I actually have one more win, and it's a double win because this was referred to me by one of our biggest fans and one of our listeners, Michael. So I have to say thank you.
Nice.
He nailed my pocket. He nailed Halo for me, and so Halo 3 had a Pontiac release, and so they also had a shirt, and they had a car too. He hasn't sent me the car. He hasn't sent me the car yet, but I thought this was really cool because it's such a niche thing, and it was such a small release that to get anything around that,
Awesome.
it was really cool to me being a Halo 3 fan. So that was cool. So thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. What's that?
Thanks, Michael. Had you seen that shirt before? Did you know of that shirt's existence?
I think I did. I really kept my focus literally on games, but now that God, that sounds horrible. Now that I think that I have all of the US release versions that I want, or that are out, there's going to be variants that pop up that I don't have. And I'm just like, whatever, I'll accept that. Now I'm open to looking at things like this because my focus has been filled. And so I'm open to it. But yeah, I had forgotten that there was other things. I've always known that there's a Halo 3 Pontiac car. Well, there's multiple of them out there. So I've never seen anybody have one. I've never seen.
Then
anybody...
you have to buy a Pontiac, Matt.
Yeah, it's not a great thing, but it's still kind of, I don't know. It's kind of cool.
That's cool. I would have bought that shirt. I got two more things, Matt. I got a Blast Corps seal.
Sweet.
It's like a 9.0. It's nice. And then I got something for you.
What? Why
Call
do you
of
have
Duty for GameCube?
Why do you have that from me?
Remember you opened one and we thought it was a reseal?
And then Dan chimes in and he's like, that was real. We're like, what?
So I picked this up off Mercari for $70 and I figured I'd send it to you.
What? No, you don't have to do that. That's
no,
awesome.
It's great, man. Yeah. So you need a replacement. I had you convinced it was a reseal. So
there'll be people for years calling me an idiot who watched that video.
Next time. We'll bring bribes next time. I understand the assignment now. Yeah.
It's fun. It's just something fun we started doing early on. And we're really glad you filled the spot to come on, because we were supposed to have Dan Kaplan on the show.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Dan Kaplan.
That. Yeah, I've heard that. Always a rumor he might show up.
He was Wade, it's almost Wade's fault this time that Dan didn't make it here, because he couldn't make it because he was still listening to Wade list off dead wrestlers.
In Clubhouse?
If you are not part of Clubhouse, there is some great stuff that goes on in there, and Wade is a wealth of knowledge in some interesting areas. And it's
you guys need to have, like, every Clubhouse is like Clubhouse After Dark to me. You guys need to do like a Sunday AM.
You know what? When Clubhouse first came out, I was super ambitious with this. And I was like, I'm going to schedule shows and we're going to get this video game collecting thing going. And I did. I had one where I would wake up, and I did like two of them. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. West Coast time. My kids would be asleep. And I did too. And then nobody got on, and so I was like, whatever.
You need to do like after the 1 p.m. NFL games on Sunday or something, like 1:30 Pacific time, go on for 30 minutes or something. But
I'll make you an admin of the group, Brett, and you're welcome to start the room. I'm all for it, because I I love it that we can at least get together once a week, and talk with some of the most common people we see. But we need new blood in there. I feel like it's a fun thing to do, but we just, it's nice to catch up with people.
Sure.
So thank you for coming on and chatting with us,
great, guys.
introducing us to.
Appreciate it.
And I do want to say we did get some questions from one of our audience members and one of our watchers. We will be covering this in our next episode. I watch and I pay attention to any comments. So anybody has any questions in the future, throw those out there. Let us know. If you have questions for Brett, throw them down below. I will throw a link to your website below if they can't find it. Where else can they find you? Where else?
Oh yeah, you're doing a promotion right now. Tell us about that.
Big giveaway on Instagram. Handle is Standard Gaming Official, and because a former YouTuber has Standard Gaming. We'll have to work on that later. And we're doing a big giveaway. We're trying to kind of do something for everybody. Later this month, we'll be kind of doing outbound marketing, getting people that aren't already kind of graded or sealed game collectors into the market. So doing a big giveaway right now. Kind of just people that are already collectors. You got to just sign up for the email list and follow us on Instagram. And we're giving away like $3,000 in graded games. It's pretty cool, kind of shopping spree style. First place, go to the website, any game you want, $1,500 or lower, is yours. Ship it to you for free. We had some cool games that were like 15 and a quarter on the site that I actually lowered to 1,500 so they could be included. Got a Minish Cap and a Hank Tab Mario in there and some other stuff. Yeah, check it out.
And then what was second place? Second place was
any game $1,000 or less on the site, and third place any game $500 or less.
That's awesome.
3 prizes, and there's pretty good mix of stuff, good mix of systems and stuff, and then we'll get more stuff loaded on the site in the coming weeks.
Sweet,
awesome,
cool,
great to have you on. Really appreciate it. I'll leave the links below, and if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below or reach out to them. standardgaming.com. Josh, you have any?
Appreciate it.
Nothing.
No. All right. Well, that's it. That's all we got.
Okay.
We'll see everybody later. Take care. Thanks for watching.
Take care.